Good morning. How are you guys doing today? For those of you that are new here, my name is Chelsea and this is Little Mountain Ranch. Welcome. We are very happy to have you here with us today. I am heading over to an outdoor water hydrant to fill up a bucket of water because we are not going to have any running water in my house for the next 24 hours due to all the renovations that are going on in the basement. The guys needed to shut off the water in order to do a bunch of plumbing that they needed to do. But thankfully, we have outdoor hydrants that are connected to our gravity-fed water system. So we don't need power or water inside in order to have water outside. And thank goodness for that. So what I'm going to be doing is just heating up water on the stove. I might light my wood cook stove and just keep some pots of water on there so that we have hot water at least to do dishes and wash up throughout the next 24 hours. I'm just heating up some water right now so that I can go down and do my milking. I need really hot water in order to wash my milking machine equipment. The plan today is to elaborate a little bit more on the video that Dan and I shared with you a couple of days ago where we were talking about selling the ranch and why we had seriously considered selling the ranch, and then why, after doing some very deep soul searching, we decided not to. There were some other components to that whole decision making that we wanted to talk to you about a little bit more today. I also want to give you an update on the basement renovation project and talk a little bit more about my husband's involvement in the channel moving forward. But before we get into all of that, we need to grab the milking equipment and go milk honey. Let me show you what's happening in the house right now. As you can see, hi Donovan, no stairs. So they're in the process of ripping the stairs out right now, or they've ripped the stairs out and they're going to be building an entirely new staircase. I'll share more about that with you when we go down. There were so many suggestions that Dan start his own channel. Speak of the devil. And Dan and I have actually talked about that, to have kind of two different channels, the homemaking side of homesteading and gardening, and then all of the projects that are also involved in it. But that again doesn't really fit in with our overarching pare things down and be a little bit more minimal with our projects so that we can be successful with the projects that we are actually focused on. So what we've decided to do is kind of amalgamate both concepts. The idea of the infrastructure building of a homestead and all of the projects that are involved in this lifestyle, combined with the homemaking side of it and the gardening and the preserving and all of that. What we wanted to do when we first started this channel, or what we kind of envisioned for down the road when we had more time to focus on the channel, was to share the whole picture of what homesteading is like here. And now that Dan is home more, we are able to do that, and that is really exciting for us. We fully plan to keep up with all of the other things that I've been sharing with you that you've come to know on this channel, like the cooking and the gardening and growing the food and preserving the food and all of that. But we are also going to start sharing more of the projects. And I am excited about that because, to be honest, well, I love to garden. That's probably one of my passions. I also love projects so much. And even more than loving the projects, I love, working with Dan. We work really well together and we love doing projects together. So we're going to be sharing the whole Little Mountain Ranch homesteading experience here on our channel, and we're really looking forward to it. All right, let's get to work, and then I'm going to share with you a little bit more about what we're going to be doing as far as paring things down on the farm, because as much as we shared with you in the last video, there's actually a really crucial component of what we are going to be paring down that we thought it was important to chat with you guys about. Okay, I'm just getting my hay into my milk stanchion, get my milker all set up, and then we will go grab honey. Let's go grab honey. We do have her moved out into the back pen now, where we have been intending to put her. It was actually really convenient to have her right in the front here while we were training. but I like her having more space over here. And now Milkweed and Patty are up with her too, and I'm gonna start milking Milkweed probably in about 3 or 4 days. Hi girls, there they are. Come on, sweetie, she already knows. Oh, you know what I forgot was her halter. I've been working on halter training, although she'd probably just follow me with this hay. I want her to be good on the halter so that I can put her out into the main field in the summertime on pasture, and she can eat all the fresh grass, and then we can just hook her up to the halter and walk her in. She's still not very keen on the halter at all. She doesn't fight me on it too much, but she's not very happy about it. See if we can do this over the fence, shall we? Good girl. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Nah. Put your head up. There we go. Good girl. Good girl. That's a good girl. Nope, you don't get to have it till you're in the stanchion. Come on. One of my favorite things about this milking machine is the fact that I can see when she is done. So this is really hot vinegar, water, and soap. And then our rinse water, which is just straight up hot water. Now I have to convince Honey it's a good idea to go back in the pen with the other hay. So I keep this really sweet special hay for her because we grass feed, we don't grain feed, for her to have both to lure her into the stanchion and also to keep her occupied while she's in the stanchion. But sometimes getting her to leave the stanchion is a little tricky. All right, my lady, it is time to depart. Back up, come on. Okay, let's go. That went so smoothly that I didn't want to stop the flow and grab the camera, but she did it well, which is awesome. So we're going to get this milk up to the house so that we can get it in the fridge right away, get it strained and in the fridge. And then we're going to come back outside and I'm going to share with you a little bit more about some of the changes that we have going on around here. Actually, I guess we can start chatting about it on our way up to the house. So one of the things that we've decided to do is to downsize our livestock numbers to just what we need for our family. So we're not going to be selling any more either meat or live animals to anybody else, at least for the foreseeable future. And we have a couple of different reasons for that. I don't know if I'm going to be able to talk and pull this up at the same time. It's very heavy. I've contemplated getting a cart for my quad, but this is a good excuse to get a little bit of exercise. How's it going down there? Good? Okay, I am going to go find the quad and go and track down our cows so that I can fill you in on some more of the downsizing that we're doing around here. And there's beautiful, look at this. How beautiful. Okay, I'm just gonna grab the quad and take you out into the North Meadow and chat with you a little bit more about what we're doing as far as getting our place to the point where it's manageable as far as the animals go. This is our North Meadow. Always love coming up here. It's so beautiful and peaceful. Hello, Poppy. More signs of spring. Hey, sweetie. How are ya? Downsizing our herd is one of the things that we have decided to do. Poppy is actually going to her new home this afternoon, along with, I don't see her. Oh, there she is. A little heifer that we had born on the property. She's a yearling. And she is also going to be heading to the same home that Poppy's going to, which makes me happy, so they can be together. This little black heifer right down there. So our plan with our cows is we're going to keep 2 dairy cows, potentially 3. So we're going to keep honey, the milkweed, and then possibly thistle. Those are the 3 that we just recently purchased, and they are all lovely cows. We haven't milked Thistle yet because she is a first-time heifer. She is going to be having her first calf in about a month, so we'll see how that goes. We haven't made a solid decision on that yet. This is Thistle right there. She's such a pretty girl. So we have a bull that we're going to keep for one more cycle to cover all of these girls once they've had their babies, and then we'll have dairy calves again born on the farm next year. We have 3 steers, so we have 2 steers for butcher for the fall, and then we have 1 that we're raising up for the following year. So all of the calves that are going to come out of our dairy cows, those will be animals that we're going to be selling off of the property, and we'll probably sell them as yearling heifers at this point, but we may sell them as calves. We'll see how that goes at that time. But our rationale behind this is that we only have so much pasture land. So our summer pasture is actually up on the mountain here, and it's pretty decent pasture, but it could use some work, and it can handle probably about 6 or 7 cows and then a couple of horses, but not much more than that. And then our hay fields, which you can see here, they go, if you can see that pond, our fence line is just to this side of that pond out there. And we have just enough hay to be able to support about 5 or 6, maybe 7 cows throughout the winter, and then our horses. And our goal at this point is to be as self-sufficient as we possibly can when it comes to animal feed, and we don't want to have more animals than we can afford to feed on the property. We might still have to bring in a few bales of hay, but we don't want to be having to do huge orders of hay in order to sustain the animals that we have on our property. So that's first up. And then second, we'll head back down to the pig pen. Okay, so on to the pigs. We are selling all of our pigs. We had initially thought maybe we would keep a sow, but we have actually decided to sell all of them. And there's a couple reasons for that. The first being that the amount of infrastructure that they would require to be able to get them out on pasture, which is how we like to raise our pigs in the summer, is not something that we have time to do right now. And we don't want to keep them in their winter paddock here throughout the summer. So that's number one. Number two, and probably one of the biggest, ties into our goals financially, and that is that feed costs have gone up astronomically, and there's no way that we can grow enough feed for the pigs year round to keep them year round. And when we were buying feed last year, it was around $15 for a 20 kilogram bag, and now I think it's 20, it might be 25, and now it is $26 for a bag of feed, which is absolutely outrageous. So because financially it's not a good choice for us, because what would be required to get our property to the point where we could be pasturing them to cut down on feed costs during the summer, and actually we just couldn't during the winter. The amount of field peas or whatever we'd have to grow would take up our hay field, which would mean we would have to cut down on the cows and yada yada. So anyway, it feels like a really good decision for us. We're a little bit apprehensive from the perspective that everyone I know pretty much is getting out of pigs right now for the same reasons, because feed costs are so high, which means it might be hard to source piglets next year when we want to raise up a couple of piglets for our own meat. But we've decided that if we need to spend a little bit of extra money and actually just buy pork from somebody who is growing it out, or just switch and not eat a lot of pork and move into eating more beef and chicken, fruits and vegetables and all that kind of stuff, then that's what we'll do. So we actually delivered 2 of the pigs yesterday. We have Dinah, which is our sow right here. That's Dinah. Hi, sweet girl. She is actually for sale right now. We just listed her yesterday, so hopefully we can find a good home for her because she's such a fabulous sow. And that's it. Then we're going to be butchering the rest of the pigs that we've raised up over the winter for our meat for this year, this coming up, 6 to 9 months or so. And then that'll be it. So within a week, we will be pig-free on our property. The last animals that we're getting out of completely are our goats. So we've already sold our dairy goats. We sold those, I don't even know how long ago that was now, maybe 6 weeks ago or so. And then we have our 2 Weathers, these guys here, and they are going to their new home, I think next weekend. So we will be completely out of goats. We're still going to be raising our sheep, our chickens, and we'll be raising some meat birds and some turkeys. But we're going to be cutting down on the amount of grain we have to buy for them by taking all the feed we were feeding to the pigs, all of the waste from the yard and the garden and everything, and we'll be chopping that up and giving it to the chickens. So that's going to cut down on the feed costs for the chickens by a ton. And then the last things that we're going to be keeping on the farm are our honeybees. I am very happy to say that I ended up having some success with overwintering my bees this year. I lost all my hives last year, so last winter, which was super discouraging. And I worked really hard to keep my hives alive this year. And 2 out of the 3 hives that I have survived the winter, which is absolutely fantastic. I just went and fed them yesterday. They look great. And it's not going to be long before we're going to have some wild food for them, and then they'll be good to go for the summer. And I'm hoping to do at least 1 split, maybe 2, to up my apiary to having 4 hives, which would be amazing. So we'll head down to the greenhouse and I'll give you an update on what's happening there and fill you in for my plans for this week. I am going to be starting the rest of my seeds this week. Nice and warm in here. Look at how well my tomato seedlings are looking now. So much better than they were. I started to pot up my pepper plants and they are looking so much better as well than they did when they were in that seedling or that soil that I had them in. They just were not thriving at all. It is also an absolute mess in here because I keep coming down to work down here for like a half an hour when I have a little window of time, and then I just abandon it and it's a mess. The celery is starting to take off and looking really healthy. Giant marigolds, brassicas. It is now warm enough that I can take all of this plastic that I usually cover all my seedlings with at night out of here, which is great because it just kind of makes it look cluttered and messy as well. And it's a good thing because I'm going to be starting all of my squash and all of my cucumbers probably later today, actually, maybe tomorrow. And that will fill out the rest of this space. I already have all my onions up across the top of here, and the bottom shelves are all pretty much filled up at this point. But by the end of this week, this greenhouse will be absolutely chock full of all of my seedlings for my 2023 garden, which is really exciting. I still have around 80 peppers to pot up, so that'll be something else that I'll be doing today. So potting up just means to take, and you might hear people use the expression up potting. I've always said potting up, probably always will, but it's just when you take your seedlings out of one container and put them into a larger container before they go out into the garden. Zinnia generally don't like to be transplanted very well. They go into quite a lot of shock and it takes them a little bit to get going. But because our season is so short, I have been doing it the last couple of years and just being super, super gentle. And it's been working just fine. I usually have a beautiful crop of zinnia flowers by, I don't actually know, probably the end of June, I guess. So happy, oh my goodness. Once we get the garden actually planted, I'll start doing weekly garden tours, but there's not a ton to see right now. The only thing that's coming up in the garden is, can you see that little tiny garlic there? Is some garlic and a ton of quackgrass. I don't even want to talk about the quackgrass. Oh my goodness, it is the bane of my existence. I don't think it helps that my garden is right next to a hayfield, but I am constantly battling grass in my garden. My plan this year, because the quackgrass is really coming in from this side, is I am going to use landscape fabric, which is not my favorite thing to use in the garden, but I really don't have a choice when it comes to this quackgrass, and cover this section with it, and then just cut some holes in it and plant all my squashes in these beds. Couldn't figure out what that sound was. It's the saw up at the house. And then I'm actually going to take a bale of straw or old hay and roll it over top of it just so that I don't have to see the landscape fabric. I do not love the look of landscape fabric at all. I'm also going to be installing a couple of these Sprout Box garden beds. This is a Canadian company that I absolutely love, and I think they're so cute. So this one is actually going to go over here on this side, and I'm going to plant a whole bunch of flowers in it, and it will just look beautiful. I have another one of these that I actually use to brood my chickens. It is the best chicken brooder ever. And then I have another one coming, a really big, beautiful crescent-shaped one that is going to be going up kind of around our fire pit area that we're going to build. All right, let's go see where the guys are at in the basement. This is the first renovation project in our marriage that I have not really had a lot to do with. I did the gutting in the basement, but as far as building it back up again, I have hardly done any of it, which feels kind of weird. I'm not complaining. It is wonderful to have the extra help to do it, and I'm sure it's going to look absolutely gorgeous when they're done. How's it going?
It's going pretty smoothly.
Oh, I love it when things are going smoothly. That's fantastic. This is the flooring that we're putting down here, which I really love. It's just like an engineered flooring, but we needed something that was waterproof in this basement just because there is a risk of potential, sorry, it's noisy, but potential flooding. And this stuff comes really highly recommended. We also need something that's pretty durable just because of the amount of wear and tear our house gets. So I've shown you this quite a few times before, but this is the family room. The stairs that the guys just took out. Wow, that looks so different. It's kind of a shame we have to have stairs here at all. It's so open. I can't remember if I showed you this in the last video. I think I did, right? I showed you guys this, the inverter for the solar system and the battery. So Dan's hoping to have this battery box built by the end of the weekend. So that's awesome. I can't wait to get back down here and be able to start using my freeze dryer again. I have been doing a fair bit of freeze drying up here, but once the gardening season kicks in, this is going to be running all the time. So what we have going on here is this is where the stairs go to upstairs. It's all blocked off now so that nobody can fall down, but this area that's in behind it is going to be the laundry room area. So what they're doing right now is they're going to be boarding this whole area. That's the plan. Hey, you guys are doing all this boarding today? That's what you guys are doing?
And the stairs.
Oh, that's exciting, because right now we're having to go around, come down, in through this door just to get down into the basement. And this is where our pantry is. So I'm coming down here a lot throughout the day. Okay, so I have decided that I'm going to keep lunch super simple today. And I'm going to do some of these crispy sweet potato fries that we got from Costco, which, by the way, are excellent. I told you I would let you know whether they were good. They are very good. And then I'm going to make a chipotle mayonnaise for them. So I just use chipotle. I already have an open container here. It's just in a Ziploc bag, and mix it in with mayonnaise, and you just add as much of the chipotle peppers as you want for it to be as spicy as you like. So the oven is already preheated. Okay, and the trick for getting crispy fries, whether you're doing store-bought like these ones or whether you're doing homemade ones, is to have them only one layer thick on your cookie sheet, and that way they go crispy instead of mushy. Okay, get these popped into the oven, and they only take about 15 or 20 minutes or so to cook. And put some mayonnaise in there. So I am just going to add one of the peppers in there, and then a little bit of the tomato sauce. Okay, and then we just mix this in. This is super easy. And you do need to chop up the pepper a little bit, but it's pretty soft, so you can just do it like this. I completely forgot that one of my kids is actually making dinner tonight. He's going to be making burgers for dinner. And so I think what we're going to do is pause the video. We're going to stop and have lunch. I'm just going to make a simple salad to go with these yam fries. And then we are going to get back together again after our lunch break and go down to the greenhouse and do some planting, because I have a ton of planting that I need to get done. Okay, lunch is over. We are now going to head out to move cows. We have people coming to pick up Poppy and the little black heifer. this afternoon. So we actually need to get them in off the field, moved in beside where Honey was, beside the barn, because it's an easy place to load from, easy place for them to back up their trailer to. Oh my gosh, it is so warm out here. Wow, it's beautiful. Just run these guys. Come on. Hut. Let's go. Let's go. There you go. Keep going, little lady. Good job, you guys. Yeah, she's gonna know. Okay, oh, this is perfect. Okay, that went fairly smoothly, all things considered. Both of them are now in beside the barn, and these guys are coming to pick them up around 5. So that's great. We can leave them there, and they should be easy to load from that spot. Now I'm gonna head up to the greenhouse, take off the sweater, because it's far too hot to wear a sweater, and get some planting done. Look at my cute ducks. They're so happy to be out of the chicken coop. They live in the chicken coop in the wintertime, but get to come out in free range during the summer. Maybe they'll hatch us out some babies this year. Okay, let's get this cleaned up first before we try to work in here. My larger plastic pots, and then pot up all of the peppers into my paper pots that I have here, because this is 75 paper pots. I have at least that many peppers that I need to pot up. Yeah, I don't want to make any more paper pots. And I have had my kids helping me with paper pot making, but I don't think they want to make any more paper pots either. So let's start by getting all this. We're going to take all of this plastic off, and I'll fold this up so I can reuse it next year. I love when it hits the point in time where I don't have to have all this extra plastic in here. Ah, that is so much better. Way brighter, which is good for the plants, and way less cluttered feeling. These guys are going to need to water and fit them in over here. So the one thing about paper pots is they don't handle being moved that well. You can move them once or twice, but it's best if they can just sit wherever they're going to stay until they're going to go out into the garden. And then I always let them dry out a little bit before I move them outside, because they hold together better, and then give them a good soak before I'm actually going to transplant them into the garden. And they hold together well enough for that. But when they're wet, they are fairly fragile. You guys have to help me remember that all of the peppers that aren't tagged are my California Wonder peppers. All the rest of them, I have tags on them. So the way that I do this is I just grab my paper pots and get them set up. And I water them so they're filled about 3/4 of the way with soil. I'll water these and then put these in and then top them off with the remaining soil. Okay, candy cane. These guys are candy canes too. You can see a little bit of variegation on that leaf there. So now I just top off my sad little pepper plants, some fresh soil. They're going to be much happier in a week or so. Last year I was planting out my high tunnel with my peppers and my tomatoes by mid-April, but I'm actually not in a rush this year because it's been so cool, and it doesn't look like that trend of cool weather for the spring is really changing. So I am not too concerned about waiting a couple extra weeks. Normally the reason why I like to start my tomatoes and my peppers early and get them into the eye tunnel as soon as possible is because we get such cool temperatures in the evenings in August. It really does slow down the growth and the development of the peppers. And then in previous years, I have had lots of green peppers or green tomatoes to have to ripen in the house. But since I starting them earlier, that hasn't really been a huge issue. Hopefully we'll have a nice warm August this year, and having had to wait and hold off on getting my plants into the greenhouse isn't going to cause a huge issue. Over the last 3 years, we have had cool springs, so I kind of feel like this might be a trend that we're just going to have to adjust to with gardening, and at least in our area. And what I would ultimately like to do, and I talked about this when we first put up our high tunnel 3 years ago, is to put a wood stove into the high tunnel, because then it wouldn't be such an issue. I could just light the stove on the cool nights in August and keep that temperature up, because the daytime temperatures are still nice and warm. In August, it's just those pesky nighttime temperatures. And because my high tunnel is right down in my hay field, or it's just kind of on the higher part of my hay field, the air gets much cooler down there than it does up higher. And that was something that I knew when I put it there, but I didn't really have an alternative location that would work at the time. So we just have to deal with what we have. All right, my friends, that is going to be it for me today. I'm going to get the rest of these peppers potted up, hopefully, and all of these squash planted, although it is already edging very close to 5 o'clock, which is when the folks are coming to pick up the cows, so I might not be able to get that much more done. I will catch you up on everything that I get done today in the next video, along with what Dan got up to in the house. I hope you guys all have a fantastic day, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.